Welcome back. Here we are, everyone, with another episode of The Shift with Gina. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, share the episode, do all the things so that we can keep making the show. Still a very, very new show, but I'm glad to have a lot of the support and a lot of new listeners. So welcome. We're going to cover a couple of things today. One thing that is kind of viral and trending, and the other that's just not so much. It's just something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time because I think a lot of people feel the same way about the decline of customer service. Do you ever feel that way? Just this horrific decline of the quality of customer service. I feel like it's just ruining our country. So we'll talk about that today. But don't forget to click the link in the description here. This show was always brought to you by the Shift Community, which is an online women's health and wellness community hosted on Mighty Networks. We are always doing some kind of health challenge or nutrition challenge. There are weight loss programs in the group if you're interested in that. We're currently in the middle of a 30-day reset. I believe we're on day 14. We're on day 14 of our 30-day reset, and every day of this challenge, we have a different daily wellness task to achieve. Today's task was really simple. Eat a high-protein breakfast within 30 to 60 minutes of waking up. And the other day was do 15 minutes of mobility. So it's pretty accessible stuff, and a lot of women are joining in. So we are currently, we have a wait list open for the group. We're going to be opening up spots for sign up soon. So click the link in the description to sign up for the wait list and then get your name on the email list, and we will reach out to you when it's time to sign up. Oh, I'm feeling really tired today. We're experiencing a little bit of snow, which is really nice because it snows every year in Tennessee, but it's always one of those things that nobody's prepared for. Everyone panics and freaks out anytime there's like 3 or 4 inches of snow, which is definitely a stark contrast to my years in Boston. I mean, living in Boston, it like snows a foot and nobody blinks an eye and everything just goes along as usual. But here, if it snows a couple of inches, the whole world stops. People don't know what to do. They panic. The electricity goes out. I'm actually shocked that we have power today because our power goes out like every month here in Middle Tennessee. Just this little area that we live in. I think maybe it's just our zip code. I don't know what it is. I mean, I do know what it is. The area is just growing so quickly that they don't have enough infrastructure for it. And we're not an important enough area for them to build better infrastructure. So anytime the weather is suboptimal, the power just goes out. Last year, Christmas, we were out without power for 3 days, got power back the night of Christmas Eve, which was good. And it was 0 degrees. So that was rough. So we have been preparing the last couple of days to lose power for a few days because it happens all the time. And I've just been cooking nonstop the last couple of days. And I'm starting to reach that point in my pregnancy now where belly's starting to grow a little bit. I'm starting to really feel the hormonal changes in my pelvis, my hips. I have scoliosis, so I struggle with back chronic pain as it is. So pregnancy always exacerbates it just because of the hormonal changes. And of course your belly getting bigger and the center of gravity is different. So I get tired more easily these days. And I just really worked hard the last couple of days. And I just feel like putting my feet up and sleeping. I might just go to sleep after this. My daughter's down for the night. I think I might just sleep after this. So I'm feeling a little bit tired. So I may not have as much energy today as usual, but we're here. I wanted to film while I had a minute. Have a minute. So while I have a free second, I want to get an episode up. So let's talk first about the decline of customer service. This is something that has been bothering me for a long time. I think it's really come to the forefront of the conversation since the pandemic because customer service has declined so significantly since then. But even before the pandemic, I think a lot of people can agree that the quality of customer service in the United States has been really bad. It's just been on the decline for the last 5 to 7 years, maybe even 10 years, you could say. And we've just had a few experiences in the last year that have just been so memorably annoying. Annoying is not even the right word. It's just been, people are just so rude at their place of work. And they're so rude to the customers. even when you're being very nice and patient with them. And I read all these tweets online, and I talk to a lot of friends who have similar experiences, and everyone is just really frustrated with the state of customer service. And I don't think it's a trivial thing. I think it is actually a very accurate reflection of the state of our society. We had an experience recently. My husband, on the way home, I think it was 2 days before Christmas, I asked him on the way home from work, I was like, I forgot to pick up extra Christmas wrapping paper. Could you get some, please, on the way home? He's like, sure. So he stopped by Kroger because it was the closest thing. And I said, it doesn't need to be anything fancy. I said, we just need a couple of rolls because I don't think we have enough, just in case. I'm like wrapping the gifts for my daughter and for the family and stuff, and for him. And he picks up several different rolls because in his mind, his logic is, I don't know which one she's gonna like. I just want to pick up a few options, and if she doesn't like the options, then we can just return the ones that I don't like. And he came back with, I think, 6 rolls of gift wrapping paper. 3 of them were seasonal, like Christmas wintry decorations, and 3 of them were just kids, like pink unicorn and like little, it was like birthday wrapping paper. He just got an assortment, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Whatever we don't use, we'll just return. So a couple weeks after that, my husband was going out. I remember he was going out to mail out a few things for work. And I was home with my daughter that day. It was a weekend afternoon. And there was a pile of wrapping paper with the receipt next to it that I had set aside because I meant to get to it, but I didn't get to it that week. And he said, well, I'll just return it because I'm running a few errands out, mailing some stuff out anyway. So he took it with him, and he came back and he said, you would not believe what just happened to me at Kroger. And he said he went up to the counter, to the customer service counter, and there was this really nice guy. And he said, how can I help you? He said, look, I've got this unopened wrapping paper. It was, I think, 5 or 6 rolls. Okay, so I think he bought 7 or 8 rolls. We used 1 or 2 of them, and he was returning 6 rolls. Okay. And the guy at the counter was like, okay, let me see what I can do for you. And he was nice, the first person. And he went to the back and he asked, I guess, his manager or whatever. And he came back. He said, I'm sorry, we can't accept these because they're seasonal. And my husband's like, but the return policy is within 30 days, isn't it? And he said, yes, but my manager is not allowing me to do this transaction. I'm sorry. And my husband's like, okay, well, could I speak to your manager? And the guy's like, sure. So he goes back, he gets the manager. And at this point, my husband kind of feels bad for the guy because he can tell that he feels bad, like delivering this news, and it's not up to him. So this woman comes to the counter and she starts off really rude to him. She said, what do you want? That in and of itself would have probably sent me. I have no patience for rude people, especially customer service representatives. You were in customer service. Hello. So she said, what do you want? And he said, hi, I'm just trying to return these unopened brand new wrapping paper rolls. And look, we're not trying to pull anything on these people. These rolls are pristine. The plastic wrapping on the outside wasn't touched. All of the stickers are on them. They're exactly the way that we got them when he brought them home from the store. It's just that we didn't use them because we didn't need all of them. And we thought, we were like, do we want to keep them for next year? And I was like, I don't even really like the decorations on these that much. Let's just return them. And I looked it up online. It's a 30-day return policy. Anyone can look that up on the Kroger website. And she said, no, wait, we can't take that. And my husband said, why not? It's a 30-day return policy, isn't it? And she said, look at this. Look at this. It's Christmas. What am I supposed to do with this? It's Christmas decorations. What am I supposed to do with this? And then my husband was getting a little bit agitated. He looked at her. He says, that's not my problem. It's not my problem. You can still sell them or sell them when the next Christmas season rolls around, when you guys put out all the Christmas stuff in like October or November. So in 10 months, you can put it out again. Brand new. There's nothing on it that says 2023. They're just seasonal wrapping papers that are completely brand new. She says, no, I can't take this. And she snatches the receipt and she looks at it. She says, this was purchased on December 23rd. What took you so long, huh? Why'd you take so long to come in and return it? My husband's like, that's none of your business. He said, it's only been a couple of weeks. It's well within the range of the 30-day return policy. He said, I would like to return these, please. He says, I'm not trying to scam you. I'm not trying to, pull a fast one on you. I'm just trying to get some money back. He said, you can even give me store credit. He says, you don't even have to necessarily put the money back on my card, because we just, Kroger's really close to our home. And that's if we need something quick, we stop by there. So it's fine. And she said, no, I'm not doing that. And he said, is there a manager that I can speak to? And she said, yeah, sure. And another guy comes out from the room and comes out from behind the woman. And he said, listen, I was listening to this whole conversation. He says, we can't take those. It's seasonal. We're not going to take that. And my husband said, your return policy is 30 days. And then the guy said, well, we have the right to refuse returns to anybody. And my husband's like, do you? He said, can I see the policy on that? And the guy goes, I'm the manager. I'm telling you that's the policy. And then he turned around and he walked away without a word. And then the woman turned around and walked away. And the first guy who called his manager to come in was just kind of standing there. My husband goes, wait, did they just leave? And the guy goes, I think so. So this was one of those customer service experiences that was just so ghetto. And this has just been one of many. There was another time, this is probably over a year ago. My husband and I were having a date night and we just felt like eating pizza. I think we saw a show or something downtown and we were like, let's find some pizza nearby. We just got online. We're like, what's the nearest pizza that's rated good? And it's this place called Slim and Husky's. We didn't know anything about it. We later learned that it's a Black owned business and they're like super proud about being Black owned. And it had like high ratings. So we're like, let's just hop in and see what it's like. And it's one of those like, order it as you go. You know what I mean? You like down the line, you're like, I'd like these toppings on and this and this and this. And the people there were just like barely literate. They could barely speak English. And I don't mean that as in it's their second language. Like they're just so stupid. They can't properly speak English, even though it's their native language. And you get up to the counter and this fat woman looks at me. She goes, Slim Huskies. And I was like, what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't understand. Slim Huskies. I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that. Slim Huskies. And she's looking at me and she's getting annoyed because I don't understand what she's saying. I looked at my husband. I was like, do you know what she's saying? He was like, no, I don't know what she's saying. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. Slim Huskies. She kept saying the same thing over and over again. And then I realized that she was asking me what size the pizza was because the place is called Slim and Huskies. And apparently you order one of the sizes. You order the slim size or the husky size. The slim size is smaller, husky is bigger, whatever. And she was asking me what size the pizza was so she could ring it up. And not only was the customer service just horrendous, it was some of the worst food we've ever had in our life. So we both left like 1-star reviews. It was awful. And we realized that the only reason that it had ever gotten good reviews in the first place is because it was like Black owned. They like have to say that it's so good. Oh my gosh. All the white guilt people, all the Nashville white guilt people, they go on there like, this is such a cultural experience. You guys have to go and eat this pizza. Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And it's Black owned. I feel like I'm doing my part. But it's like the trashiest pizza you'll ever. You could hardly even call it pizza. It was probably the only meal that my husband and I have ever eaten that we took a bite of and we had to throw it away. It was so disgusting. It was barely even food. I wouldn't even feed my dog that food. So that was another experience. And we've just had so many of these experiences over the last couple of years. And it really got me thinking about the decline of customer service in general. And I hear stories all the time from my friends online. There was another experience I had with Crowdcast. I hosted a virtual workshop a couple months ago. It was like a how to save money grocery shopping online workshop. And there was some kind of bug on the back end that didn't collect any payment. So everyone who attended my workshop got in for free, even though the back end was telling me that they were purchasing the tickets and it was like tallying up how much money people were paying, but they didn't actually pay anything. They did not even pay me back for that. They didn't even offer to give me enough credit for the monthly membership to make up for how much money I lost. And it was the most horrendous customer experience service I've ever had. I actually had to tweet at the CEO. I tweeted at the CEO and I was like, is this what you guys are doing? You know, you lost me a lot of money with this event and you're not even helping me out here. You're not even responding. It's just horrible. So it's really gotten me thinking about what is going on with the way that people approach their work today. Because it's so much more than, oh, you know, the pandemic really made it difficult for people to go back to work. And it's even more than, well, the government's giving so many handouts, so why would people even work hard and go get a job anymore, right? Because you hear a lot of these statistics like there are more available jobs than there are people looking for jobs. What it is truly is the rot of American culture. And I think customer service, the quality of customer service is a really accurate reflection of how rotten our culture has become and how little dignity our society has for not only serving each other, but for accomplishing their own work. It's a social decline that I really, truly believe it comes from the godlessness of our society. There's a lack of care, lack of thoughtlessness, there's selfishness, and it really comes from the self-idolatry and the entitlement that the left has taught everyone as they have taken over American culture. Because what is the main message now, especially given to young people, millennials, Gen Z? The message is that you deserve more than what you have. The message is you are entitled to so much more. So you have these young generations of people who are going to their minimum wage jobs, their low paying jobs, their entry level jobs, which guess what? Everyone started in, almost everyone, your parents, your grandparents, their grandparents, they started in the workforce as an entry level job. Making minimum wage in the beginning, like that's what a lot of people have done in this country. And for a long time, it was just that you accepted that because American society has more upward mobility available to us than any other country in the world. And so that's why when you see people sharing all these statistics about how minimum wage workers make so little compared to the CEOs, it's like, okay, if you're going to share those statistics, you have to be honest and you have to show, which Thomas Sowell does in so many of his books about the economy, you have to also show the statistics of how many of those people actually stay in that income bracket. Very few of them do. It's like 80% of them move up to the next income bracket within a couple of years. The opportunity for upward mobility in this country is it's so high. It's so much higher than any other country, any other society, and any other economy in the world. But that aside, you have these generations of young people who feel entitled. They've been taught that they're victims. They've been taught that they're oppressed. And so they're going to take all of that with them to their job. And they're going to look at the customer and they're going to be mad at you because you're not giving them what they want, because their boss isn't giving them what they think they deserve. And they have no respect. They have no dignity. They have no sense of honor and duty and of doing their job the right way. And on top of that, we have a society of people that just do not care about each other at all anymore. It's so selfish. Everyone is so self-obsessed. They could not care less about helping one another. And that is the exact result of godlessness, because you only have two options in this life. You either serve God or you yourself are your God. That's it. Those are the only two options you have. You can deny that all you want. If you're atheist, agnostic, whatever, you can try to deny that until you're blue in the face, but that's just the reality of the world. That's what it is. You got two options. Either you serve God and you know God and you love God, or you are your own God. And what has happened in our society today is that everyone is their own God. Everybody. So of course you're going to go to a customer service representative and you're going to see misery and you're going to see disgust and you're going to see selfishness and a complete lack of care in their eyes because they don't care. They have zero thought for anyone else around them, let alone a customer that is a stranger to them. And it honestly makes me sad to think about the decline of American culture, because I think about when I was a kid. I grew up in a really small town in South Georgia. When I was growing up, I think, until I was about 16, there was only one stoplight in my whole town. Very small town. I remember I grew up in the same town from when I was 5 years old to I was 18, lived in the same home, went to the same school district, knew all the same people. It was about 30 minutes outside Savannah, Georgia, but we would go into Savannah a lot for my piano lessons and competitions and, appointments and whatever else. And I just remember going with my mom to everywhere, where there was a doctor's office or shopping at the mall. And I don't really have that many memories of bad experiences with customer service. I have a couple, but I remember for the most part, people were quite respectful of each other. And if you go to the front desk with an issue, with a concern, the general environment and the general energy that you would get from the customer service representative was, I want to help you. I'm here to help you. I want to make this problem go away. I would like to help you as much as I can, especially if you show up being kind and respectful. Those are the memories that I have when I was a kid. My mom also tells me, I talked about this with her the other night. She said in the 80s and 90s, she said, when you were first born and in the first probably 10 years of your life, she said, the level of customer service in this country was just fantastic. She said, I don't really have that many memories of people being rude. And she said, and if people were rude, you could always bring the complaint up to their manager. That's why they make fun of Karens for doing that today. But my mom said you could always bring the complaint up to a manager, and there was always some kind of manager or a higher up person who was interested in hearing that complaint. Today, that's not the case at all. And my dad also said you have all of these snot-nosed, spoiled brats now who are in these positions of customer service, and they don't want to be there. They think they're too good to be there. They think they deserve more. They should be paid more. They should get free health care. They should get free education. They should have their student loans forgiven. And that's the generation that we have raised. And so this terrible level of customer service that we have in this country, it's not separate. It's not exclusive from the absolute worst problems in our society and our culture today, which are selfishness, godlessness, subjective morality. It's all related. This is all at the core of terrible customer service. And you can tell me, oh, you're overthinking it, Gina. Maybe you've just ran into some bad experiences. If you're overthinking it. No, I'm not overthinking it. This is why we have such terrible experiences now, because very few people take pride in their work. If you think about some of the most high trust societies, places like Japan, Korea, Finland. Yes, I know these are racially homogenous societies, which is an important factor. That does matter. And that's something that nobody really wants to talk about, but it does matter that these societies are racially homogenous. This racial diversity we've been taught is our strength. It's really not, because not only do we have racial diversity, but we also have moral diversity. So there's not even anything that brings us together from a moral point of view. That's not a good thing. When you think about the strongest cultures in the world, they have a lot of things in common. Usually it's their race and their ethnicity. But even if you don't have that in common, you can have something in common that is moral and that's rooted in values and beliefs. And we don't even have that as an American society today. We're constantly told that the best thing about America is that we're so diverse and we have different beliefs and we have different skin colors and we have different values. No, that's actually one of the things that is really tearing us apart. Because look at all these high trust societies. You would never in a million years find that kind of customer service in a place like Japan or Korea. No way. You could leave your most expensive valuables outside, even a place like Dubai. You can leave your laptop in the middle of the shopping mall. If you need to if you're doing some work at a table and you maybe need to go and make a return or something, you can leave all of your stuff there. You go, make a return, you come back, and it's all sitting there. In Japan, you can leave the most expensive bicycle out on the sidewalk. Nobody locks their bikes in somewhere like Tokyo. There's no such thing as a bike lock. You leave it out there, you go inside, you do your business, you come out, your bike is just waiting there. When I visited Seoul, South Korea, this was probably about 10 years ago now, I visited with a friend. We were there with a group of people, and I was in the taxi with two friends. And we got out of the taxi because I was coaching a mock trial team at a high school. And my friend and I were the ones coaching the mock trial team. And we got out of the taxi into this conference center because that's where the mock trial competition was. And my friend realized he left his wallet in the taxi, and the taxi had already driven away. My friend doesn't speak Korean. And he was freaking out because everything was in that wallet. He was like trying to call the taxi company. He couldn't remember what the taxi number was. Of course, he was like doing everything he could to track down his wallet. And as he was on the phone, the driver came back to the building, tracked him down inside the building to give him his wallet back. That was one of the first memorable experiences I had in South Korea. And these are the kinds of societies that you visit and you sit back and you're like, man, wouldn't it be so nice if America were like this? Wouldn't it just be so nice? There's no way. You couldn't even leave a $5 bill on the ground and walk away from it for 2 seconds without somebody taking it. Like, things get stolen all the time here. It doesn't even matter where you live at this point now. Yeah, there are some small towns that have higher trust in the United States, but overall, not even comparable. Not even comparable. And it's so sad to me that America has gotten to this point, and it should make you sad too, as someone who is patriotic, who loves this country. I was born and raised here. I'm American, and I take a look around and I'm like, sometimes I don't even like being here. I don't even like it. Everyone is nasty. They hate each other. They're miserable. They're fat. They have no morals. They have no values. They're all about me, 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 me. And at this point, it doesn't even matter what race you are. Everyone's just miserable. And I'm over it. That was almost half an hour of talking about customer service, but I think it really gets to the root of what is so sickening about American culture today. And I don't know what we're going to have to do to crawl back from it. We need some Jesus in our life for sure. But I don't know what it's going to take for us to crawl back from it, because it seems, I hate to be a Debbie Downer and I hate for it to be a black pill, but it just seems like it's so far out of our reach now. I don't know how we're going to get back to where we were. I want to look at this viral video now. Ballerina Farm. Have you guys heard of Ballerina Farm? Her name is Hannah Neeleman. She's a Mormon wife and mom of 8, just had her 8th baby. She was trained at Juilliard as a ballerina. Beautiful woman, beautiful family. They live out on this pristine piece of land in Utah. She has millions of followers on all social media platforms. She's just blown up in the last couple of years. They're cattle ranchers. They have a meat delivery service. She's a sourdough baker, always cooking food and showing just little bits and pieces of her farm life. She's had some controversy. I wouldn't even want to call it controversy. I would just say drama. She hasn't done anything controversial. It's just that people found out that her husband is the heir to JetBlue. So her husband is worth like $500 million. So they're really mad and salty about it because they're like, oh, she's cosplaying as a farmer and she's rich and she should disclose how much money she has to the world. No, she shouldn't. It's none of your business how much money she has. She obviously cares for her children and seems to be a very involved mom. I'm sure she has a team to help her with childcare and education. Of course, she's got 8 kids, for crying out loud. And if you're worth $500 million, of course you have help. Big deal, okay? Big deal. But this video has gone particularly viral because she had her 8th baby 12 days ago. And she is in the pageant circuit. She won Mrs. Utah a few years ago. And then she won Mrs. American. So the Mrs. obviously is the married ladies in a separate branch of their own pageant, right? So it's not like Miss Universe, Miss America. These are the married ones. And she's beautiful. She's a pageant. Take a look at this. She's a pageant girl for sure. This is her a couple of weeks ago. She was still pregnant with the 8th baby. So Mrs. American official. So this is her photos for Mrs. American. Yeah, she's gorgeous. I mean, look at her. Okay, so this is 12 days after she gave birth to her 8th baby, and she's getting ready to go compete in the Mrs. World beauty pageant. Okay, take a look. Okay, so in the caption, she wrote, what the last 12 days looked like for me. It's been a postpartum like no other. Your Mrs. American and Baby Girl American are here and ready to roll. And she tagged Mrs. World Pageant. She announced that she is attending the pageant. I'm assuming it has to be that she's competing in the pageant as Mrs. American. And this is getting a lot of heat. This has 420,000 likes. How many views does it have? It has 9 million views. Whoa. Yeah, her videos get a ton of views and engagement. And there are like thousands and thousands of comments of women talking about how unreal this is that she's doing this 12 days after giving birth. Some people are asking, why can't we just normalize women staying in bed and healing postpartum? One woman wrote, you look amazing, but I would like to state that this is extremely unrealistic for a woman 12 days postpartum. I'm not saying this as a put down, but more for the new mamas watching this. New mama, this is not normal. Do not compare yourself to others, but especially to others on social media. You are not broken. Your baby is not broken. It's hard for everyone, even if they don't show the hard parts. You got this. Okay, so that was, she just wants to encourage new moms. I can get that. Another woman said, well, yes, you're superwoman. This kind of content is super damaging to majority of freshly postpartum moms. I wish you were instead choosing to showcase being a role model for birth recovery, for bonding with baby, for respecting your body's journey, for allowing nature's magic to take precedence, for prioritizing family, for nourishing your body with nutrition and rest, blah, 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 blah. You could have taught other moms self-compassion and presence and healthy mindsets around the maternal transition. Okay. So yeah, they're mad at her that she's not like, I don't know, being a better role model, whatever. Okay. Here's the thing. Here's a couple things about this video. I obviously don't know her health and her recovery process. This is her 8th baby. So I think she kind of knows what she's doing. I think Hannah Needleman seems to be a very healthy woman. She does, from what I have seen and heard and read, doesn't seem to have any issues with pregnancies and births. A dancer is, I guess, a particular can be categorized as an athlete. So she, I'm sure, stayed active throughout all of her pregnancies. I don't know what her recovery process is like. And I will say that every woman recovers from birth differently. Some women, most women will stay in bed and recover and rest and give their body time to really heal. I have heard some moms say that with each baby that you have, you need a little bit less rest and recovery time because it's kind of more familiar to the body. I don't know if that's true. But I will say this. If you think about our ancestors, even like your great grandmother and her mom and her grandmother, I don't think these women really had the chance to have like luxurious rest periods postpartum. I don't think that a lot of them really had that, unless you're, an aristocrat, you're a wealthy and high class sort of person, which most people weren't. I don't think that a lot of women had that opportunity to rest really well after birth. I mean, there are a lot of stories of women working the fields and they literally pop out a baby in the field. They rest, bring the baby back in, and then they're out in the field like the next day because they have to. It's a necessity to stay alive. They have to gather food. They have to work the crops. They have to do all of these things to just survive. And we're obviously in a much different society now where we have our basic needs given to us, like food and shelter and warmth and fresh water, right? So I think that in the past, there have been many of our own mothers who have had to give themselves a quick turnaround for postpartum and birth. And a lot of times also because they had to care for the other children. When you have a whole family to care for, if this is like your 4th or 5th child, you've got kids running around, you've still got to take care of the home. I don't think a lot of women were in bed for like 6 weeks, even though it's recommended. So most cultures, for example, my mom's Korean and my mom always says it's 30 to 40 days. Usually it's 40 days that you're at home with the baby. It doesn't mean you can't do anything. Obviously, you're going to be out of the bed and caring for the child and maybe like, cooking and doing a few things around the house. But it's said for the health of the child, for the immune system of the child, you keep the baby in the home for 30 days at least. And it's good for the mom too, to have that recovery. And usually it's respected that for those 30 to 40 days, you don't have visitors. And I like that. I think that's a good amount of time, right? I didn't have that. My first child, that postpartum period was just crazy. For those of you who are in the shift, you know the story. But I did not have that postpartum rest because both my parents were like on the verge of death when my daughter was born. My mom was in the ICU. We thought she was going to die. She was put in the ICU 2 days before I gave birth. She was incredibly ill, like very, very, very sick. We thought that she was going to die. Like I was giving birth to my daughter and thinking that my mom would die and never meet my daughter. It was a horrific time for our family. Like truly, I don't use the word traumatic like ever in my life, but it was so traumatic. Just the circumstances happening around my daughter's birth. And my dad was also very ill. We thought he had a stroke. He wouldn't eat, drink, sleep, shower, brush his teeth. He would just sit there comatose because he thought my mom was going to die. And so he was very, very ill too. And we thought, like I said, he had a stroke. So when my daughter was born, I did not have the really nice bonding period with my newborn. They say that when you have your newborn, you're supposed to snuggle and have skin to skin contact and really just connect and bond with your baby. I wasn't able to do it, not because I didn't want to. I desperately wanted to. I was running around like a mad woman trying to save my parents' lives. My mom came back from the hospital when my daughter was like 8 to 10 days old. And when she came home from the hospital, we transformed the guest bedroom into a hospital bed, basically, because my mom was still really sick and she was on oxygen 24/7. And every time I had to feed my daughter in the middle of the night, I was like running over to the other end of the house, checking my mom, make sure she was okay. My husband and I were like desperately trying to get my dad to eat and drink and like trying to bring him back to life. And it was crazy. I can't even remember postpartum. I did not get a single moment of lying down with my daughter and looking at her and just being in awe of her and having skin to skin. Like I didn't. Thank God. I think God knew that I couldn't have handled anything else. Thank God my daughter was really easy as a newborn. She just ate and slept for the first like 2 months. I couldn't have handled anything else, but I didn't get that time with her. I was like, the day after I gave birth, I was like limping around making bone broth and cooking for my dad, trying to keep my dad alive. My husband and I were like constantly going to the hospital to visit my mom, make sure she was okay. It was just insane. Like I can't even tell you. So I can't compare. I don't know what it's like. I'm never going to have that because once you already have a child and you give birth again, you don't get that really sweet time of just like relaxing with your second, third, or fourth or whatever baby because you have another kid to take care of. So I'm never going to be able to experience that, which I'm kind of sad about because that's something that every mom should experience. And I see a lot of new moms, they have their first baby and they just get all this precious time with that child. And I look at that and I'm like, I kind of wish I had that. I wish I had that because I never did with my daughter. I always felt bonded with her. I never felt disconnected from my daughter during that ordeal, but it was really, really hard. It was by far the hardest period of my life so far. Well, it's probably tied for the year 2023 as the hardest time of my life. But having said all that, there are a lot of moms who have no choice but to get up on their feet and get back into the swing of things pretty soon. Like I shared this on my Instagram and there were a couple of moms who messaged me and they're like, man, I had to go back to work 4 weeks postpartum after a C-section because that's the only time I had off from work. And that was the only way I could provide for my child. And I hear stories like that and I'm like, man. And then there was another woman who messaged me. She was like, my grandmother said when she had her 5th baby, she had to be up within a couple of days and taking care of the rest of the kids. And that was the norm back then. So I think that it's good when you can. It's good for women to rest. But I also think that we shouldn't really look at women to be these like fragile, delicate creatures who like can't handle it because our bodies were fearfully made. And I know that God designed our bodies to be very strong and very resilient. Now, I don't think it's something that you should bring upon yourself intentionally. I think that you should create that space for rest and recovery if you can. However, I know a lot of women who are just simply they were not able to do that. And they were fine. They made it. They healed well. They bonded with their baby. But here's the thing, guys. Here's the difference. All of these scenarios, all of these accounts that I just shared, they were all out of a deep necessity to keep the family afloat. They were all out of a deep necessity to take care of the other children in the family. That's why these moms didn't have a long recovery rest period. But if you look at what she's doing in this video, what is she doing 12 days postpartum? She's going to a beauty pageant. That's for herself. So this is where I see a difference. This is where it's different to me. Now, obviously, this is something that she committed to either in the early stages of her pregnancy or before she got pregnant. And she didn't really know when the baby would come. But I saw online, I poked around a little bit. It was announced in August of 2023. It was announced that the Mrs. World pageant would be held on January 14th. So she was pregnant already. And I just see this scenario different than all of the other examples that I just named. Like women who have no choice. They got to get back and take care of the other kids. They got to get up and cook for their family. They got to get up and go back to work because that's the only way they're going to be able to provide and put food on the table for their kids. This is not that. This is a purely elective, I'm 12 days postpartum, but I'm going to go compete in a beauty pageant and put on cute dresses and see how skinny I look in the mirror. Do you see the difference? I'm not trying to be unkind or rude. I'm not. This is not meant to be like I'm bashing Ballerina Farm, but it is something worth thinking about, guys. This is a very, very different scenario. This is not something like, oh, I have to do this in order to take care of my family. This is purely elective. And this is my biggest issue with this whole thing is that she put it on social media. Like this is just like showcasing, I'm 12 days postpartum and look what I can do. Look what I'm doing. I'm at the beauty pageant. Because I understand that with working moms, because Ballerina Farm is a working mom, okay? And that's okay. There are tons of working moms out there. She's a working mom. She's got her own business. She's got these social media accounts to manage. She's a working mom. With working moms, I understand that there are times, if you have multiple children, there's bound to be a time where some kind of work overlaps with the birth of your child. Dr. Jolene Brighton, she's this really great hormone expert, naturopath she wrote a whole book called Beyond the Pill, talks a lot about the dangers of the pill and just educating women on what the side effects of the pill are. She commented, I can't find it now, but she commented and said something like, let's see if I can find it. I can't. But she said something along the lines of every woman heals in their own way from birth, postpartum. She's like, I'm not here to judge or say anything is right or wrong. She was like, after the birth of one of my children, she said, within a couple of weeks, I was up out of bed editing a book that because there was a deadline for the book that I was writing that was determined long before the baby came. Right. And I get that. Right. So I'm sure that there are going to be working moms out there at some point, if you have multiple children, where the birth and a work deadline overlap a little bit in some way. However, if that ever happens to me, I would feel a little bit, honestly, embarrassed. And it's not something I would put online. Like I would not feel comfortable. I would not feel proud. Here's the better way to put it. I would not feel proud of electively giving up, caring for, and bonding with my 12-day-old newborn in order to get a beauty pageant done or get a book written. I wouldn't feel proud of that. That's not something I would put on social media. So I think this is the biggest issue that a lot of people take with this. So at least it's the biggest issue that I take with it. It's a different thing than a mom needing to get up and heal and care for her family. It's different. It's a woman getting pretty for a beauty pageant. And yeah, she is beautiful. She's pretty and she looks fantastic for being 12 days postpartum. Are you kidding me? I was still like a troll 12 days postpartum. I don't think I put on makeup until I was at least 2 weeks postpartum, But that's not the point here. The point is that I think people intuitively feel that there's something off about sharing this online. It's like, it's not something that I would necessarily be proud of. So that's my thoughts on this. I don't think anybody should come to like condemn her or judge her. You know, Hannah Neeleman, just like every other mom, is doing the best that she can. She's doing her thing. I will say this though, if my husband were worth $500 million, I would not be running around with my 12-day-old newborn going to a beauty pageant. I would just be kicking it. I'd be putting my feet up. I would be relaxing. I'd be relaxing. I mean, not that she does a beauty pageant for money, but still, it's like, why even? But also there's also the component of like, you should not really be taking your 12-day newborn, like traveling out of state. Like, that's not healthy. It's not healthy for the child's immunity. Like, you need the newborn baby, less than 2 weeks old, needs to be home with mommy. Yes. Anyway, those are my thoughts. More power to her, though. More power to all of you moms out there. Not every mom is going to have it the same with pregnancy, birth, and postpartum, and that's okay. Whatever that comment said, there was one comment that was like, don't compare yourself to others. And it's true. Stop comparing yourself to others. It is really the death of joy. Whatever your postpartum experience was, that's okay. It's the way that God intended it. Usually when I'm pregnant, like I don't even look at this content. I don't even look at pregnancy, birth, postpartum content. I don't even look at it, because one of my sort of New Year's resolutions this year was to just to trust God's plan. Whatever happens with this pregnancy and the birth and the postpartum, I just really want to get to a point where I fully trust in God. And I have a good support system. I have a good family. I have great friends. I have a really wonderful parish family. So I'm not worried about it. So that's why if you're a mom and you're listening, especially if you're a new mom, don't compare yourself to what you see online, because what you see online is also not the full truth. And if you can, rest with your baby. If you can, enjoy that little sweet baby. Enjoy the little smell, the newborn smell. Oh my gosh. I would not want to be away from that newborn smell. It's just the cutest thing in the whole world. I hope my baby is a fairly good sleeper when this baby arrives. Who knows? You never know. Okay, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm going to bed, guys. I'm tired. I'm really tired. We're out in the snow a lot today. My daughter loved the snow. I wish I could show you pictures, but I don't show pictures of her publicly. But trust me, it was really cute. I am going to go to bed now. Hope you guys have a wonderful day or night. I have a couple of things lined up for the next episode. We got a couple guests coming. I know I've been saying that for so long. It's just hard to line up the guests and figure out if they're virtual or fly them out, because this podcast hemorrhages money, doesn't make any money. So we're probably gonna have to do things virtual, but okay, I'm signing off. Bye everybody.